Hi, good afternoon everyone. In this class, we will look at the three things. First, the relevance of current affairs in this year means GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4. How the question is integrated with the static plus the current affairs. Second, we will look at the two article. One is given to you, the editorial. It is about the food insecurity in country. So how you people are getting from this article, first you will read, then I will tell you what is the important point in this article and how you can make the note from this article. Then the third thing is about the IMEC, India Middle East Economic Corridor, that was announced in the G20. So these are three agenda for it. The first was the important one. Hi Ashwini. The first one is the important one, how you can read the current affairs and how you can answer the demand of the question with respect to the UPSC. We are reading from the current affair from Hindu, Indian Express, maybe some of the another newspaper, but if you are not addressing the demand, it's nothing. अगर आपको आता भी है और आप लिख नहीं पा रहे हैं तो it is not good for you. So I will show you the 10-15 questions here, how the current affair part is integrated with the static part that is required. Means with the basic, how we are going to integrate the current affair part is the necessity for the exam. पहले क्या होता था बिफोर 2013, 14, 15 में देखेंगे तो there are 60% static part in the paper, but now they are moving to the 70 to 80% of the current affair part in this paper. So there is a change in the gear by the UPSC and they are not asking the simply the direct current affairs. They need to think and the brainstorming type part they are asking in this question paper. तो वो चीजें हमें पता होनी चाहिए स्पेसिफिकली when we are preparing for this exam. So let's see one by one. So this was a question in General Study 1. Hi Mahesh, good afternoon. In General Study 1, this was a question. Discuss the consequence of climate change on food security in tropical countries. Discuss the consequence of climate change on food security in tropical country. First of all, you cannot answer this question from any of your given books. आपकी NCERT में, even you are reading any of the reference book, you cannot answer this kind of the question until and unless you are reading the various kind of editorials that are specifically related to food security and climate change. And they are specifically targeting the tropical country. How they are affecting the tropical country. India is also a tropical country. So to answer these kind of the questions, what is required? क्या क्या चाहिए हमें to answer these kind of the questions? हाँ, तो वो कंटेंट कहां से आएगा? So whenever you are reading, आप कुछ like this article is also on the food insecurity. This they're asking about the food security, but this article is about the food insecurity. So when we need to address the questions कि हमें ये question को answer करना है, when we are looking at the previous year questions. So whenever we are making our notes, हम अपने notes बना रहे हैं for the like take an example for the GS1 we are making our notes. So here we are having the syllabus of the GS1. Here we are having the previous year questions. So we are dividing the headings of the syllabus under the various subheads like the 20 subhead, 25 subhead specific for the geography here. Then in the case like from the climate change, there are the 4 questions from the climate change UPSC ने अभी तक पूछे हैं. Whenever you are making your notes on the climate change, these 4 dimensions should be included in your notes. अगर आप notes बना रहे हैं and these 4 dimensions are not included in your notes, means आपके notes answer नहीं कर सकते in the upcoming paper of the UPSC also. So whenever जब भी आप you are reading any of the newspaper, you are reading any article, you should focus on the previous year questions. You make a table like this, what is the syllabus and what is the exactly requirement by the UPSC. हम क्या करते हैं when we are reading the GDP, when we are reading the unemployment का idea हमें सबको पता है कि what is unemployment, what is the method for unemployment in India, but the type of the question UPSC is asking, they are directly integrating what are the steps taken by the government of India and how you can analyze those steps which are taken by the government of India in the positive and the negative dimension. We just can answer about the unemployment. We can also answer the method of calculating the unemployment. But the recent change in the policy after 2017, upgradation of the labor force periodic survey, addition of the women labor force periodic survey, तो कहाँ से data मिलेगा? The context data you can only get from the newspaper. That's why even it is the prelims, even it is the mains, without current affairs, you people cannot qualify any of them. But current affairs कब काम आएगा? The current affairs specifically you can only integrate when your basic is strong. When you everything about the unemployment, but there is a need to upgrade the unemployment from the static to the current perspective. So that अगर आपका basics part is strong नहीं है तो you cannot integrate. So for the integration purpose, there is a requirement your basics should be strong. आप NCERT multiple time पढ़ चुके हो, reference book या following that should be read by 3-4 times, and do not undermine the NCERT. In the GS1, GS2, GS3, almost 6 to 7 question directly from the NCERT. तो जो हम छोड़ देते हैं ना कि NCERT कुछ नहीं है, ऐसे ही हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा, तो NCERT से every time you will find the question. In the polity GS2 2 questions, in the GS1 2 questions, GS3 3 questions directly from the NCERT. So NCERT are built up on your base. They are telling us you the new linkage, the thinking perspective, the idea of democracy. There was a question in the GS2 that is given into the 7th class NCERT. And the same question was asked in the UPSC GS2 paper. So here the complete idea, how you will go with your preparation, what should be the strategy, कैसे होना चाहिए preparation. Let's see the another question. Explain why suicide among young women is increasing in Indian society. Any book, any reference book is telling us about this data. First is the data of suicide. Second, they are narrowing down the approach to the only to young women. Only to young women. Two specific, बहुत ज़्यादा specific questions पूछा है. So whenever we are writing these kind of the questions, suicide से आगे हम नहीं जा सकते until and unless we have a good reading. So why always I am suggesting please read one editorial on daily basis from newspaper. Only the simple requirement, one editorial from any newspaper, Hindu or Indian Express. But that will be, should be relevant for your examination. आपके syllabus से match होना चाहिए. When you are reading the editorials, you will get the various dimensions. इस पे देखोगे तो there are more than 6-7 editorials in a year about the suicide rate of women. Specifically in the age group of 50 to 29. You will be surprised, in India, almost 40% of the world suicide related to women in India. Out of the 100 suicide, the 40 suicide in India only. These kind of data is required. I am not explaining the complete question here. You can see the video of GS1, 2, 3 on the YouTube channel of Edukemy, जहाँ में हमने पूरे question paper को discuss किया है. But here just I am telling the relevance of current affair, how the current affair is relevant. Let's move to the next question. Why did human development fail to keep the pace with the economic development in India? One side we are talking about the human development, and second side we are talking about the economic development in the country. And the same question is asked in the 2 GS, GS1 and the GS3. So the perspective should be different. Here, हमें बस इतना ही पता होगा कि mostly you will write about the human development index. They are not asking about the index. They're asking about the human development. What is the human development? Anybody? Definition. What is the definition? If I am asking you, write the definition of human development in 25 words. This is a 10 marker, so question should be complete in 150 words. No.
The development of human as an individual.
Some extent. Yes. And living standards. These three, all three are included. If you are seeing the Human Development Index of the UNDP, United National Development Program, they are including the three categories specifically. Those three categories should be mentioned in the definition. Then finally, they are asking about compare why India fails to keep pace. In economic development, we are the third largest economy in terms of PPP. But in the case of human development, why we are lack? क्या issue है? So that need to be addressed. वो तभी address हो सकता है on the basis of your reading. Again, the linkage of current affair here. Until and unless we are having data, education में क्या report है इंडिया का, skill development में क्या report है इंडिया का. Here we will go time wise, 1990 to 2000, 2000, 2010, 2010 to 2023. What is the status of economic growth and what is the status of human development? So again, the usage of current affairs. The next question, does urbanization lead to more segregation of marginalization of poor in the metropolis? Again, this context, the poor in metropolis, there was a report related to it. Satellite towns. The article was about the satellite towns and they are discussing about the poor in metropolis. This was a GS2 question. Who are entitled to receive free legal aid? इतना आप बता दोगे. Everybody can tell who are entitled to receive free legal aid. For your information, that question on NALSA was in Prelims in 2020 and in 2013. On the same theme, NALSA. So the question themes of Prelims and the mains are not different. If you see the same type of the question on human development, you will find in your Prelims also. The question on the legal service authority you can also find in the Prelims also. So the themes are not different, but the criteria of asking a written. यहाँ पे Prelims के लिए आपको data चाहिए and the facts. Here you need to an analysis, assess the role. Assess the role of NALSA. Until and unless आपको you people know only about the free legal aid about by the NALSA. मेरे पास नंबर नहीं है कि NALSA already provide more than 6 lakh resolution of the cases. Until and unless I am not having the data related to the NALSA, what NALSA do and what is the status of the recent 5 years, I cannot assess this kind of the questions. आज न्यूज़पेपर में है तो 2 महीने बाद कुछ अपडेशन आया तो फिर न्यूज़पेपर में आएगा. तो इसके लिए नीड टू मेक सेपरेट नोट्स ऑफ द करंट अफेयर्स. तो कैसे हो सकता है वो? If you are looking at the next question, the crucial aspect of development process has been the inadequate attention paid to human resource development in GS2. The first was in the GS1, human resource development again in GS2. Discuss the role of Competition Commission of India in containing the abuse of dominant position by the multinational corporate in India. Refer to the recent decision. Anybody can tell me about any decision here? Competition Commission of India ने कोई ऐसा decision लिया हो multinational company? हाँ, सबको वही पता. What was the decision? We need to write in 150 words. At least 5 cases are required. And it will be better if you're writing Google versus Union of India. जिसके वर्सेज जो होता है केस, दैट्स कंप्लीट इंफॉर्मेशन इज रिक्वायर्ड बिकॉज दिस इज रिलेटेड टू द पॉलिटी. तो उसके अकॉर्डिंग ही आपका आंसर होगा. If we see the next, the virus of conflict is affecting the functioning of SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. In the light of the above statement, point out the role of India in mitigating problems. If you see the question of international relation in the GS2, they are mostly quote based, or we can say the statement based questions. And these statements directly taken from the editorials. अगर आप सर्च करोगे तो you will find the reference of this statement as well. We are reading about the SCO. We are reading about the function of SCO, extension of SCO, task force of SCO. But here question, point out the role of India in mitigating the problem. If my reading is very narrow, how I'm going to answer? The same case, current affairs. That's why the newspaper is very important. और here you need to build your perspective. ऐसा नहीं कि आपने किसी का वीडियो देख लिया, एडिटोरियल एनालिसिस चल रहा है 10 मिनट्स में, चलो वीडियो देख लेते हैं, टाइम बचेगा. That's the person analysis, not yours. You need to make your view exactly what the editor want to say, exactly how I'm going to use this information in my paper, how this information is related to the previous question of UPSC, what kind of the question UPSC can ask in the next year. जब तक ये क्वेश्चन मार्क नहीं आएंगे माइंड में तो आपकी प्रिपरेशन एक बेटर तरीके से नहीं हो पाएगी. अगेन द जेंडर जस्टिस लक्ष्मीकांत में तो नहीं दिया हुआ है. That was also the concept in the newspaper about the gender justice. C is an important component of the cosmos discussed in the light of role of IMO. India had in 2022 last month IMO को हेड किया था इंडिया ने, and there was many article at that time. So directly from those articles. So relevance हमें पता होना चाहिए what we are reading. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट पूछते हैं कि न्यूज़पेपर में पढ़ना क्या है, पढ़ना कैसे है. Only the previous year can tell you how they are framing, how they are including from the editorials, how they are including from the newspaper, explained part of the newspaper. Now come to GS3. The faster economic growth requires increased share of the manufacturing sectors in the GDP, particularly to the MSME. When you are joining any of the foundation course in any of the coaching institution, MSME के बारे में कितना पढ़ाया जाता है? Just about कि 50 crores investment, 250 crores turnover, and they will also tell you about the 4-5 schemes of the MSME run by the government. But this part, comment on the present policy of the government in this regard. First of all, we need to know the 6-7 policy of the government of India related to MSME. Then we need to be right about the negative part also. क्या improvement चाहिए उन policy में? That is also required here. वो आपके notes में नहीं है क्योंकि आपको पढ़ाया भी नहीं गया. So where the role of a current affair teacher or the newspaper came. Next, status of digitalization in India, directly from the, we can say, economic survey and budget. Examine the problem faced in this regard and suggest the improvements. ये आप एड्रेस कर सकते हैं क्योंकि बहुत हम डिजिटल के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. तो बट डेटा कितने % लोग मोबाइल फोन यूज करते हैं. डिजिटलाइजेशन इन हेल्थ, डिजिटलाइजेशन इन मॉनेटरी ट्रांजैक्शंस, डिजिटलाइजेशन इन एजुकेशन, लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड्स, एग्रीकल्चर, स्पेस, सब बात करना पड़ेगा. बट विद डेटा. GS3 सबसे इजी पेपर था इस ईयर मेंस का, if we see the generally trend also, but the marks always in the range of 85 to 95. Why? Where the GS2 is the tougher one, GS1 is a tough paper this year, and the marks range will be 110 up to 110, 115. But this was the easiest one, and the range will be 85 to 95 only. 85 say this is the those who are writing very well answer, and those who are writing generic answer, the range will be 60 to 70 only. जितना क्वेश्चन देखने में आसान लग रहा है उतना ही ज्यादा इसको रिक्वायरमेंट है डेटा का. द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ एग्जाम्पल्स, द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स. इफ यू आर रीडिंग, इफ यू आर हैविंग टारगेट कि मुझे 2024 देना है, तो बी सीरियस, रीड अकॉर्डिंग टू रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द एग्जाम, एनालाइज द सिलेबस फर्स्ट विद द प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस. एग्जैक्टली व्हाट्स द डिमांड ऑफ यूपीएससी. If you are not looking at the demand of the examiner, we cannot clear this exam. हमें डिमांड ही नहीं पता और हम चलते जा रहे हैं, पढ़ते जा रहे हैं, क्लास लेते जा रहे हैं, घर जाकर नोट्स को रिवाइज कर लिया, लेकिन बट द क्वेश्चन इज ऑफ डिफरेंट काइंड्स आर हियर. इवन इन द प्रीलिम्स यू कैन सी द पैटर्न चेंज लास्ट ईयर. यू सी द लेवल ऑफ द पेपर that is required. So most of this was the question on unemployment. This part is given in NCERT, but the last part, examine the methodology adopted to compute the unemployment in country and suggest improvements. This suggests improvements. Until and unless आपकी रीडिंग नहीं है इससे रिलेटेड, तो you cannot suggest the improvements. Anybody can tell me how the unemployment, कई जो डेटा कलेक्ट करने का तरीका है इंडिया में, उसमें कैसे इंप्रूवमेंट किया जा सकता है. दे आर नॉट आस्किंग अबाउट कैसे अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट को दूर किया जाए. दे आर नॉट आस्किंग अस अबाउट द वे टू टैकल द अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट. दे आर आस्किंग अस अबाउट द मेथडोलॉजी दैट वी आर यूजिंग फॉर द अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, हाउ वी कैन रिफॉर्म दैट मेथडोलॉजी. तो उस मेथड पे बात करना है. 90% we will write only कि unemployment को कैसे दूर किया जाए, but the question is not about that. So understanding the demand of the question, exactly requirement क्या है. Question पढ़ के लग रहा है कि unemployment पे सीधा लिखना है, but when we are reading it second time, third time, exactly what's the demand. Next is explain the changes in the cropping pattern in India in the context of change in consumption pattern and marketing condition. So in the case of consumption pattern and in the case of marketing conditions, how the cropping pattern has been changed. We are moving toward from basic necessity of food to the nutritional necessity, protein requirement, vitamins requirement. We are moving toward the different kind of the grains. The year of millets has been announced. We are moving toward कि एक particular energetic foods and the marketing condition, how with the changing cropping pattern, how the marketing condition is changed. आपको you have the idea of the first part कि cropping pattern is changing, but with this pattern, the consumption pattern is changing and the marketing condition is also changing. Horticulture bhi aayega. So these kind of the linkage only can be fulfilled through current affairs and brainstorming. आप लोग पढ़ते हैं कभी brainstorming उसका करना कि क्या क्या dimension extra add हो सकती हैं. That will help you to retain. That will help you to think more. क्योंकि इन द एग्जामिनेशन में यू हैव द 7.5 minutes टू राइट अ 10 marker. इससे ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं होता. तो इफ हम स्टार्ट थिंकिंग इन द एग्जामिनेशन, इट विल टेक 3-4 minutes टू थिंक, then when I will write the question. तो ये सारी चीजें आपको अभी से अडॉप्ट करना होगा, तो इफ यू वांट टू राइट द मेंस द नेक्स्ट ईयर. ओके, so let's start the editorial discussion for today. Everybody get the editorial? Online student, you can get this editorial from the Telegram channel of Edukemy. It is uploaded there. Take 10-15 minutes, read this editorial, highlight the important keywords, and one by one tell me क्या आपकी understanding है इस editorial से, how this editorial can be used in GS1 and the GS3. Editorial is about the food insecurity. How we can riddle off from India food insecurity. I wish Lakshi, you can get it from the Telegram group. And tomorrow test will be from 11 to 15 September current affairs. The editorial is very simple. All the information is given, but you need to extract and you need to check its usage, how it can be separate under different subheads. हो गया? डन? बी फास्ट, सी सेट में रीडिंग चाहिए 28 पैसेज के लिए. Done? Okay, now let's come to the first part. In the first part, introduction, the writer is writing about the condition in India. He's telling us about the Food and Agriculture Organization report, where the report is saying about 74% of population of India is not affording the nutritional food. Then if we are coming to the next part, what are the specific findings about the National Family Health Survey? It is about the anemia, it is about the nutritional food. And then the writer is saying if we are narrow down the number, the more than the 50% of the population is not getting the nutritional food. Means the population of more than 50-60% of the country. So this is a crucial fact and data, and the organization is very, like we can say, we can quote this organization in our answer. Then we are moving toward the next side. The writer is writing us about कि जो Reserve Bank of India is majorly focusing on the policy. They are focusing on the policy of the inflation targeting, but they are not giving the timeline when we कब तक हम इसको target करेंगे. And that inflation targeting policy have no clue कि how we can control the food inflation. So they are targeting specifically the policy of the RBI. Then in the next part, the significance of the Green Revolution. यहाँ पे तीन चीजें बताई हैं. The first, why the Green Revolution was a success. What was the reason behind the success of Green Revolution? Second, the editor is telling us about what is the issue with the Green Revolution जो अभी हमें impact कर रहे हैं. The writer is writing about the 6-7 issue. Those are impacting us now. Then he is suggesting कि हमें क्या extra करना चाहिए so we can be the food secure country. Now we are having the enough food, but we are not having the nutritional food. In the next part, initiatives, what can be done by the government and what can be held by the private party, and कैसे government का रोल एक बहुत बड़ा हो सकता है, like during the time of the Green Revolution. And if you are reading the last 3 lines of this editorial, that can be a perfect conclusion. Now, in order to ensure that all Indians have permanent access to healthy diet, no approach consistent with the ecological security must be off the table. So it can be a best conclusion in the case of food insecurity. So you can write this in your notebook. So according to me, I am dividing this article into the various facts. So this is the first heading you can see here. If we are coming to, they are saying the annual inflation exceed 11% in the country. Annual inflation is the 11% in the country. Then the last section of the society is not consuming nutritional food. When there is a question related to the nutritional, we can say about the anemia, we can say about stunted growth, malnourishment. So you can quote this kind of data, and this data is from the National Family Health Survey. Then next, in the next part, they are saying about the FAO report, the Food and Agriculture Organization report, where the 74% of the population cannot afford a healthy diet, and where we are saying we are a net exporter country in the agriculture. So there is an issue in between the nutrition and the production. Means we are producing more, but we are not producing nutritional food. We have issue with the availability of the nutritional food here. And then this is the important information. The population of the most country, even the 60-70% of the country की population से ज़्यादा, we cannot provide a nutritional food. Like out of the 140 million population, 100 million, 70 million is not getting a nutritional food. And he is telling also the region here. In between 2018 to 2023, there is an inflation increase the 65%. But there is an increase in the wage only 38% for the laborers and the 28% for the MNC. If I am earning 100 rupee in 2018, I am earning 128 rupee now. But my spending was 100 rupee in 2018, now it's 168. Means my spending is more than my income now. So that's the issue why I cannot afford a nutritional food. Then it's lead to relevance of anemia prevalence. अगर मैं अच्छा खाना नहीं खा रहा हूँ, I'm not getting nutritional food, it will lead to the anemia, it will lead to the various kind of disease. तो यंग जनरेशन को डायरेक्टली इंपैक्ट करेगा, वुमन को सबसे पहले इंपैक्ट करेगा. देन द आर्टिकल इज सजेस्ट कि गवर्नमेंट को क्या करना चाहिए. यू कैन सी एक्सेस टू हेल्दी डाइट, इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करना चाहिए. सप्लाई साइड इशू है, मैनेज सप्लाई साइड इशू. देन फोकस ऑन द यील्ड. नाउ वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग द फूड ग्रेन्स बट आवर यील्ड इज नॉट एज मच फॉर द साउथ एशियन कंट्री, जितना चाइना में है, जितना बाकी कंट्री में है. Then the cost of production is very high here. Then the editorial, in editorial you will find about the green revolution. Why the green revolution was a success? Supply side response था exactly what we want. हमें idea था we want to produce the more food. We cannot dependent for the import of the food grains. So we specifically focused on supply side response. Then availability of the high yielding variety. कि हमें ज्यादा से ज्यादा प्रोडक्शन करना था उस टाइम पे, टू फोकस ऑन द पॉवर्टी, टू फोकस ऑन द फूड इनसिक्योरिटी. देन credit availability by the government, the central government providing the huge credit for the green revolution specifically in the northern India. Then the procurement, अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो तो गवर्नमेंट उसको प्रोक्योर भी करेगी एंड दे विल गिव यू सिक्योरिटी कि हाँ आपको कोई नुकसान नहीं होगा, द गवर्नमेंट विल बियर इट. So that incentive lead to farmer to produce more. But now the condition is changed. Instead of producing more, we need to produce nutritional foods. पहले हम सीरियल पे फोकस कर रहे थे, अभी हमें दालों पे फोकस करना है. We need to be focused on the different kind of grains, nutritional grains. Then the editor highlight the issue related to green revolution. The first issue he highlighted the use of chemical fertilizers in excess. To increase the production, they use the excess fertilizer. That providing of the high subsidy on the seeds, providing of the high subsidy on the irrigation, high subsidy related to the food production. Due to the high usage of the chemical, there is a degradation of the soil quality, जिसकी वजह से continuous there is a decrease in the production and increase in the cost. जैसे ही decrease होगा production का, तो there will be the increase in the cost of production. Then less focus on the farmer income. हमने प्रोडक्शन पे देखा कि दे आर प्रोड्यूसिंग, बट अभी भी ओनली द 7 to 8% फार्मर्स इन इंडिया गेटिंग द एमएसपी. उससे ज्यादा को एमएसपी नहीं मिल पाता, स्पेसिफिकली रिलेटेड टू द पंजाब, हरियाणा एंड वेस्टर्न यूपी. These are the major area where the farmers are getting the MSP. But in the case of Bihar, in the case of the second part of the UP, in the case of the Madhya Pradesh, farmers are not getting the minimum support price. Then what is the requirement? when you're writing the way forward in any of the question, so what is the requirement? Lower the production cost. सबसे पहले we need to be focused on the how we can reduce the producing cost. If we are producing and the wheat is 1500 per 100 kg, how we can reduce to 1000? That should be the idea. Focus on the rising price of food. अगर आप देखोगे, if you are buying vegetables on daily basis, increase in the price of vegetable, the regular increase, not that increase of tomato for the first one time, but the regular increase, every vegetable is near about a 40-50 rupee per kg minimum. But in जब season नहीं होता, they cross even the 70-80 rupee. So that the kind of inflation. Increase in the yield, there is a specific intervention of government is required, so we can teach the farmer how the yield of the field can be increased. Irrigation coverage and the net sown area. After the independence, government is working on the irrigation. They are providing the free electricity. They are providing the irrigation equipment पे subsidy मिल रहा है, solar panels पे subsidy है. But that does not lead to increase in the net sown area for irrigation. तो वो जा कहाँ रहा है specifically? Means there is a gap between the implementation and the provide. आपने provide कर दिया लेकिन वो implement हुआ या नहीं हुआ? That's a major gap here. Then the restriction of the land leasing. The government have a specific rules in the some of the different state कि आप इस 5 एकड़ 10 एकड़ से ज़्यादा land lease नहीं कर सकते. So there should be a requirement to change these law so that if we are getting the area, more area, so it become very easy to use the high machines, high technology machines that will help in the high production. Yes, biofortification of staple crops, that is the last part. We will come in the last part कि exactly initiative में क्या क्या required है मोनिका. Okay, and agriculture research extension. We are talking about कि हमें प्रोड्यूस करना है, we are talking about कि हमें नई वैरायटी लेके आनी है, हमें न्यूट्रिशनल फूड को लेके आना है, but we are not discussing about the research in this area. India having the various institutions like the Indian Council of Agriculture Research and the various institutions related to agriculture. There is an institution PUSA also about the agriculture, but that research is not approaching to the farmer on the ground level. Exactly what is the requirement? Farmers are not much educated. कैसे सोइल की क्वालिटी को मेंटेन करना है, किस फसल को कितना टाइम चाहिए, कितना न्यूट्रिशन चाहिए, कितना केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर चाहिए, किस टाइप का एरिया रिक्वायर्ड है. पंजाब एंड हरियाणा प्रोड्यूसिंग द राइस, बट द सोइल इज नॉट गुड फॉर राइस. इट इज अ वाटर, वी कैन से रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ वाटर इज वेरी हाई, बट दीज आर ड्रोट रेजिस्टेंट रीजन जहां पे पानी की कमी है. बट द ग्राउंड वाटर टेबल का डिक्रीज होना, दिस इज द concept ki this is not required in this area. This area is specifically for, we can say, the maize crop, the bajra crop, but we are producing the rice and the wheat there. So these kind of the information should be tell to farmer कि ऐसा होना चाहिए. क्यों farmer क्यों motivate होगा? Why the farmer will be interested to produce the another thing जहाँ पे MSP भी नहीं है? In the wheat and rice, the government is providing the highest minimum support price. So then why the farmer will grow the different kind of the legumes? क्योंकि उस पे एमएसपी भी नहीं है, उसका प्रोडक्शन भी कम होगा. इट्स नो हैव नो गारंटी द गवर्नमेंट विल बाय इट. सो टू चेंज द पॉलिसी, टू चेंज द इंसेंटिवाइजेशन ऑफ द फार्मर, इफ यू आर प्रोड्यूसिंग द डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ द क्रॉप, यू विल गेट मोर इंसेंटिव. आपको हर चीज में, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी में इंसेंटिव मिलेगा, इरिगेशन में इंसेंटिव मिलेगा. यू विल गेट द हाईएस्ट एमएसपी इन द केस ऑफ द प्रोड्यूसिंग ऑफ द न्यूट्रिशनल फूड्स. सो वी नीड टू चेंज दोज काइंड ऑफ द पॉलिसी. Then in the last paragraph, the initiative किस पे काम करने की जरूरत है. The first, increase in the irrigation fund, not increase the area covered. तो means there is a mismatch. Government is provide the funding कि आप irrigation area को increase करो, net sown area को irrigation में लेके आओ, but there is a stagnant है. तो we need to highlight the issue why there is not increase in the irrigation area after providing the subsidy, after providing the budgetary support to the irrigation. So there is an issue with respect to implementation and the government policy. Next, fragmentation of the land lead to decrease in the productivity. Now if we are going to village, initially a family is having a 10-acre land. Now the 10-acre land is divided between 3 brothers. Now the each fragment is of 3 acres. Then the next generation will come, it will divide among 2 brothers, then it will be 1.5 acre per brother. There is a fragmentation is increasing in India due to the nuclear family concept also. Initially we are joint family, land single use होता था. If the family is having the 50 acre, that 50 acre is single handedly use. सब उसको में ही काम करते थे. तो ट्रैक्टर यूज हो सकता है, different kind of the farmer equipment यूज हो सकते हैं. But due to the nuclearization of the family, the fragmentation of the land is also increasing in India. Due to the increase in the fragmentation, there is a decrease in the yield because the farmer cannot afford the high equipment. They cannot produce the high quality products. So that's why there is a fragmentation of the land. The editor is suggesting here कि उस पर भी हमें control करना होगा. How we can control on that? Next, increase in the role of state in technology and productivity. Now the role of state come. They are announcing the different kind of the scheme, soil health card, प्रधानमंत्री कृषि सिंचाई योजना, per drop more crop. तो how to implement these schemes? कैसे विलेज तक जा सकता है, कैसे गांव से गांव कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं. Initially there was a concept of gram sevak. The editor is mentioning in this article. Those gram sevak are interacting with the farmers and they are understanding their problem and they notifying their problem to the government. But now that concept is also missing. The connect between the farmer and the government is also missing. So we need to again work on these kind of the approach. And finally, the conclusion. India benefited from the green revolution and the made first dent on poverty. But now there is a need to make a dent on nutritional content so that we can increase the nutritional content and provide support to the population in the country. So how many of you identify these kind of the dimension की अलग अलग कैटेगरी में उसको लिखा जा सकता है. This data can be utilized 3-4 times in a different area. When there is a question related to green revolution, why green revolution was a success? Critically analyze. Critically analyze, you have the positive side also, you have the negative side also. The one question can be answered. Second, the food insecurity. How India can overcome the food insecurity? You have a complete data of FAO. You have the complete data why there is an issue related to food insecurity. क्या काम करने का initiative चाहिए? That can also be answered from here. So a single editorial can help you in the GS1 and the GS3. But how you are going to use it, how you are going to make its notes, वो matter करता है. Daily, this is the work required. एक editorial पढ़ो, उसको इस तरीके से कन्वर्ट करो. जब आप नोट स्टैटिक पार्ट के बनाओगे तो यू कैन इंटीग्रेट दीज थिंग इन योर स्टैटिक पार्ट नोट्स एंड दैट विल बी ए कंप्रिहेंसिव नोट्स फॉर द एवरीथिंग, इवन फॉर द प्रीलिम्स, इवन फॉर द मेंस. इफ यू आर नॉट डूइंग दिस काइंड ऑफ द वर्क तो वो मुश्किल हो जाएगा क्योंकि एट द टाइम देयर इज अ ह्यूज प्रेशर ऑन यू कि क्या क्या पढ़ें, कहां से पढ़ें, क्या क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है, डेटा कहां से लेके आए, केस स्टडी कहां से लेके आए. If you are not collecting this from the newspaper, if you are depending on the magazine also, means you are not thinking. आप brainstorming नहीं कर रहे हैं, आपको बना बनाया मटेरियल मिल गया. Even I can suggest कि आप मैगजीन पढ़ लो मंथली, लेकिन उसमें आपने क्या किया? It's not about कि आपने कुछ सोचा उसके बारे में, आपने कुछ brainstorm किया, आपने सोचा कि कहाँ पे इस कंटेंट को यूज किया जाएगा. What the relevance for me? Why I am reading it? तो ये सब आपको देखना पड़ेगा. So there is a question related to it. Please try to answer. Please note down the question. Assess the effectiveness. Assess the effectiveness of current strategy. Assess the effectiveness of current strategy and policy in India. Strategy and policy in India. Efforts to achieve sustainable and inclusive food security. Effort to achieve sustainable and inclusive food security. Considering the multifaceted dimension of food insecurity in the country. Most of the part of this question can be answered from this editorial, but something required. तो प्लीज फ्रॉम नेक्स्ट क्लास में आने से पहले इस क्वेश्चन को लिखना. You can send me on Telegram or you can show me in personally also. So exactly what you are thinking about the question, how you are decoding this question, if you are understanding the requirement or not, that can be checked. If you are writing regularly these kind of the question, आपको benefit दिखेगा in a long term. After 2-3 months, you will be finding that you can answer any kind of the questions. And please also attempt the prelims test every Saturday, that having a 20 question. It will check your approach, how you are reading an factual article. उस factual article पे किस तरीके के prelims question बन सकते हैं. I am taking the class from the prelims perspective as well as the mains perspective. Due to the time shortage, we are having only the one class right now, but we are thinking to convert it into 2 in a week. That is on the weekends. So the people not having any burden of the current affairs. We are also thinking about increasing the duration. So there is a complete comprehensive coverage of prelims and the mains. We are covering almost 30 topics with respect to prelims every week, 20 in the form of test and the 10 in the form of the discussion. And we are discussing in a month 2-3 editorials. So you have a clear idea how to read an editorial and how to write an effective answer. इससे ज़्यादा requirement नहीं है. At the end of the year, we almost complete 60 current affair test, almost 1200 questions. अगर मैं सक्सेस रेट भी मानूं 1% भी मानता हूं तो 12 से 15 क्वेश्चन आएंगे. एंड द प्रीलिम्स इज अ गेम चेंजर ऑफ हाफ एंड मार्क्स. एंड द लेवल ऑफ द क्वेश्चन इज नॉट वेरी बेसिक, दे आर कंप्लीटली बेस्ड ऑन द यूपीएससी प्रीवियस ईयर. तो प्लीज ट्राई टू अटेम्प्ट द ईच टेस्ट. पढ़ा है नहीं पढ़ा है बट अटेम्प्ट द टेस्ट. नेक्स्ट टाइम खुद से पढ़ के आओगे जब माइनस में मार्क्स आएंगे तो इट्स बेटर टू अटेम्प्ट इट. ओके, सो टुमारो वी विल मीट एट 11. You will need to prepare from the 11 to 15 current affair from the Edukemy website. We are covering almost 10 topics in a day, so almost 50 topics honge. Out of those 50 you will get the 20 questions. So please try to be regular, attempt the test. और next class में आने से पहले please write this question. You can send me on Telegram. Everybody have my number. I am writing here 9958. So you can text me on Telegram. व्हाट्सएप मत करना, ट्राई टू डू टेलीग्राम. Yes, Monica, you are telling us about how the e-technology help in the farming. This is not the idea behind this editorial. This editorial is specific about the food insecurity, how we can improve that. And the e-technology can help in the production, but we need to identify the basic idea there. Biofortification, that is the part of biotechnology that we can do for the nutritional enhancement, but for the yield enhancement, we need to do some another thing. It's a personal choice. Yes, I can think it's a personal choice. But as we are moving in a farmer, like a farmer, there is farmer producer organization, FPO. The government is promoting those FPO. They are providing incentive to the farmer, so the farmer can join those FPO and produce with those farmer producer organization. And in these FPO, there are specifically 100,000 farmers are included. So if one farmer is only having the 1 acre, so there is 1,000 acre. So that FPO is using the high technology, they are using the high machines, so there can be the increase in the production. They can also join, even in the village level. They are the self-help group. 10-20 people are coming together, they are collecting their lands and they are doing the farming. तो वो भी हम example दे सकते हैं. There is the, yes, Kudumshiri group in Kerala, it's a very successful group. They are working on this concept. So you can write that. Yes, 11 to 15 September current affairs only from the Edukemy website. You will find the 50-55 articles. try to read out of those 55, 5 are the editorials. So you can skip those editorials, but read the other 50 articles. Okay, thank you.